DDDs, finally after so many years of being in the game, can actually do the thing that they were designed to do.
I'm literally gonna put up more negates than what any meta deck puts up.
With all of our weird looking whatchamacallits, we wombo combo out multiple interruptions.
With ease, with the greatest of ease.
This deck was actually the first deck I ever played in the TCG, so you know I gotta make a video on it.
Let's go!
DDDs is a pendulum deck. Despite popular Duel Links players' opinion, it is not designed for pendulum summoning. This deck doesn't really pendulum summon, and that doesn't make it bad, because this deck's trying to pull off fusions, synchros, and exceeds all in the same deck. Our main fusion boss monster is Flame High King Genghis. He can negate an opponent's spell or trap once per turn, but the problem is that you can only do it during your turn, so we aren't going to be trying to do this unless we're going second. Trying to break through the opponent's board with this to prevent their back row from stopping your other plays. Our main synchro is Cursed King Siegfried. This guy's also a once per turn back row negate, but he can do it during both players' turns, meaning we can go from both going first as an interruption and going second as a way to break through the opponent's back row. Our main exceeds is Wave High King Caesar. If you're a TCG player and you call this card Caesar, I recommend learning about a little known guy, some Italian guy, maybe you've heard of him, Julius Caesar. Caesar. It's time to start saying his name right, unless you're calling him Julius Caesar for some reason. Anyway, Caesar can detach material from himself to negate an effect that would special summon a monster and destroy the card that activated that effect, and then make itself and another of your DDs gain 1800 attack until the end of the turn. This effect isn't a once per turn, and it requires 2 materials, so you can use this effect twice on the same turn. This card isn't the same as something like Steel Swarm Roach, Halberd Cannon, or Stardust Warrior. Those 3 all negate summons. Caesar is different because he negates effects that summon, which is totally different.
What's the difference, Undead?
I was getting to that, just listen. There are 2 kinds of special summon. The first is a conditional summon, and the second is an effect to summon. A conditional summon is when a card lets you special summon it by meeting a certain condition. For example, Cyber Dragon says if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon it from your hand. The condition is that the opponent is the only one with monsters on the field, and if you meet that condition, you get to just plunk it on the field. Another example is a Synchro, Exceeds, or Link Summon, and these are all just something that you get to do when you use the right materials. The important thing about this kind of summon is that they aren't effects, they are just something that happens. So effect negation like Caesar won't work on him. Caesar negates the other kind of special summon, the effect to summon. This is when a card effect activates to special summon a monster. This could be a fusion spell activating to fusion summon, it could be a monster activating to summon itself or another monster, but here's how you can tell the difference. If a spell or trap is activating and its effect summons a monster, you can be certain that it's an effect to summon a monster. And if a monster's text that describes a summon includes a colon, then you know that it's an effect to summon and Caesar can negate it. Some examples of effects in the meta that you can negate with Caesar are Salamangreat Gazelle, Mirage Stalio, Burning Shell, Transcendence, Hida, Polymerization, Miracle Fusion, Neos Fusion, Crosskeeper, pretty much everything in the Predaplant deck except Hydra, Crimson Resonator, Bone Archfiend, Red Rising Dragon, Scarred Dragon Archfiend, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, Gemini Ablation, Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, Blazewing Butterfly, and pretty much every Lyrilusk. Is especially helpful against heroes because since Caesar is a water attribute, heroes can't use Super Poly to remove it from the field. So we can set up Siegfried as a back row negate and Caesar as 2 effect to summon negates. That's 3 negates on 2 monsters. But the opponent's effects might be able to play around these. For example, if they have a bunch of conditional summons. This deck's versatile though, we got other ways of stopping the opponent. First off, we got a searchable continuous trap, Dark Contract with the Witch. Once per turn, we can discard a DD or Dark Contract card to destroy any one of the opponent's cards. That's going to be helpful for preventing the ignition effect of Armed Dragon, and it can just generally be solid interruption. It also buffs our DDs by 1 stack of attack during the opponent's turn to make it harder for the opponent to attack into us. DDs also has hella level 1 monsters, so we might as well take advantage of the Ensemble Blue Robin. As if the opponent special summons a monster, we can detach a material to bounce an opponent's monster. It's not once per turn either, so with 2 materials, this can bounce 2 opponent's monsters when they go for their summons. And having this next to Caesar is gonna have us covered for both conditional and effect summons. This is a lot of interruption going around, and we won't always be able to get all of it online at the same time. Having all these options makes this an incredibly versatile deck, and one that you definitely don't want to have to go second against. DDDs looks like a Popeyes little combos we got going on here. This might be one of the wombiest, cumbiest decks you ever played, and I'm going to show you a bunch of combos here. But part of playing with this deck is knowing how to use your cards to get the outcomes you want. And this is going to require some decision-making wisdom that I can't give you in a video. You have to get this kind of wisdom through experience, so you're just going to need to practice with this deck a lot to be able to master it. While I can't give you that wisdom, I can help you get there by showing you a whole bunch of combos here. Our skill is just a consistency skill. Tuning of the Doom King, it gives us pendulum zones so we can set our scales for their effects and so that we can have multiple contracts in the back row. It also lets us reveal Armageddon or any level 1 in order to search for a level 2 or lower DD. The level 1s and 2s in DD are the real playmakers, so getting consistent access to these is important. We also get another bonus by playing Armageddon. I know Konami just loves making us play this dog shit card, but the skill does make it worth it. If we control Armageddon, we can set a contract directly from our deck. So often this can be used just to get Dark Contract with a Gate so we can get a search, or it can be used to get a Witch so that we can use that as an interruption. If we go second, we don't even need to have the Armageddon on field, because if only the opponent controls a monster, we can set a contract from the deck, no need for Armageddon. So we could get Witch to break the opponent's board a bit before committing to the rest of our plays, or we could get Gate to help us search for the cards we need to make our plays. DDs is a very consistent deck, but its combos always involve a lot of cards, so having as much consistency as possible is very important. For this first combo, we need Kepler, Swirl Slime, Necro Slime, Lamia, and Ragnarok. Using the consistency skill, you can help yourself get all of these, and if you're missing a piece, then Kepler can help you find the missing piece. Normal summon Kepler, and on summon, it'll use its effect to search for Dark Contract with a Gate. You activate Dark Contract with the Gate, then use its effect to search for whatever missing piece you need. Then you activate Swirl Slime in hand to fusion summon using itself in Necro Slime to go into Little Genghis in the extra monster zone. Then you can activate Swirl Slime's Grave effect, banishing itself to special summon Lamia from your hand, which triggers Genghis to revive Necro Slime. Lamia tunes Necro Slime to synchro summon Formula Synchron, and on summon Formula Synchron draws one card. We scale our Ragnarok, and then Formula Synchron tunes Genghis to synchro summon Cursed King Siegfried in the extra monster zone. This will trigger Ragnarok's scale effect to revive Genghis. Lamia can then revive itself from grave by sending a DD from hand or your Gate from field to the grave, and this will allow you to overlay Lamia and Kepler into Ensemble Robin in defense mode. Necro Slime banishes itself and another DD from grave to fusion summon your second copy of Genghis, and with your 2 Genghis on field you can overlay into your Wave High King Caesar. Here you have 5 interruptions: the back row negate from Siegfried, 2 effect summon negates from Caesar, and 2 on summon bounces from the Ensemble Robin. This next combo we need Kepler, Swirl Slime, Necro Slime, Lamia, and Armageddon, and another DD to discard. Again, we can use the skill and the Kepler to help us find the missing pieces. Normal summon Kepler, and on summon it searches for Dark Contract with the Gate. We can then activate Dark Contract with the Gate and it can search as a missing piece. Then we can activate Swirl Slime in hand to fuse itself with Necro Slime to go into Little Genghis in the extra monster zone. Swirl Slime then banishes itself from grave to summon Armageddon from hand, which triggers Genghis, but make sure you don't activate Genghis yet. We can use the skill to set Witch from the deck since we control the Armageddon. Lamia can then special summon itself from hand by sending a DD from hand to grave, and Lamia can tune Kepler to synchro summon Formula Synchron, which on synchro summon will let us draw a card. Necro Slime then banishes itself and a DD from grave to fusion summon another Little Genghis. Formula Synchron tunes Little Genghis in the extra monster zone to synchro summon Cursed King Siegfried in the extra monster zone. This triggers our other Genghis to revive the first Genghis. We can overlay both Genghis to Xyz summon Caesar, and that'll be our end board. The Formula Synchron is mainly there to give us a draw so that we can have something to discard for Witch's effect. And every single card in our extra deck is a DD or contract card, so we have a 100% chance of drawing into a viable discard option for this effect. Honestly, I've seen people running non-engine in their DD decks, and in my experience, this really backfires because we really want to have a whole handful of engine, like literally the whole hand, so that we can combo as much as possible. So we end on a back row negate, 2 effect summon negates, and a quick effect pop. For this next combo we need Kepler, Swirl Slime, Necro Slime, and Lamia. Normal summon Kepler, and on summon it searches for Dark Contract with a Gate. Activate Dark Contract with a Gate and then use it to search for the missing piece. Swirl Slime and Necro Slime fuse together to go into a Little Genghis in the extra monster zone. You can banish Swirl Slime from grave to special summon Lamia from hand, and make sure not to trigger Genghis. Lamia tunes Kepler to synchro summon Formula Synchron, so you can draw a card on its summon. Then with Swirl Slime you can banish itself and Lamia from grave to fusion summon another Little Genghis. Formula Synchron tunes Genghis to synchro summon Cursed King Siegfried, which triggers Genghis Genghis to revive Genghis, and you can overlay both Genghis to go into Caesar. In this next combo we need Kepler, Swirl Slime, DD Dog, and any other level 1. Normal summon Kepler and search for Dark Contract with a Gate, and activate Gate to search whatever missing piece you need. Swirl Slime fuses with Dog to summon Little Genghis in the extra monster zone. Swirl Slime banishes itself from grave to special summon your level 1 from hand, and Genghis triggers to revive Dog. Your Kepler and level 1 can overlay into Ensemble Robin, and your Genghis and Dog can overlay into Caesar. In this next combo you need Kepler, Swirl Slime, Lamia, Ghost, Armageddon, and any of the 3 contracts Gate, Swamp King, or Witch. Normal summon Kepler and have it search Dark Contract with a Gate if you don't have it already, and if not then search for one of the other 2. Activate Dark Contract with a Gate and activate it to search for your missing piece. Swirl Slime activates to fuse itself with Ghost to summon a Little Genghis to the extra monster zone, and Ghost triggers in grave, targeting Swirl to put another Swirl into the grave from the deck. Swirl Slime banishes itself to special summon Armageddon from hand, but don't trigger the Genghis. You then activate the skill to set whatever contract we're missing out of the 3. Lamia can then special summon itself from hand by sending the Gate to grave. Then Lamia can tune Kepler to synchro summon Formula Synchron so it can draw us a card. You can then activate Dark Contract with a Swamp King and use it to banish Ghost and Swirl Slime from grave in order to summon our other Genghis. Ghost then triggers in Banish Pile to return Swirl Slime to the grave. Formula Synchron tunes the Genghis in the extra monster zone to synchro summon Cursed King Siegfried in the extra monster zone, which triggers the other Genghis to revive the first Genghis, and then with both Genghises we can overlay them to go into Caesar. For any of these combos, if you already have Dark Contract with a Gate, then Kepler can instead search for the Witch, giving you access to even more interruption. If you want to memorize these combos, you may need to re-watch them a bunch of times, but even just from watching them once, you can already see that even though the combos might be different, you use a lot of the cards the same way. Like you tend to use Swirl Slime and Necro Slime together, and you tend to summon Lamia from hand with Swirl Slime rather than with her own effect, so you can use her own effect later from grave. A lot of the plays you make in the combos of this deck are going to be the same even when you're doing different combos, so the more you play this deck, the more you'll begin figuring out combos for yourself, and at that point you've mastered the—
Hey yo, hold on one moment there, bro. Why did the background just change? Oh yeah, that's because I'm trying to sell you something, big dog, and that is the new 6K channel membership. We have the base tier that gives you special emojis only you get to use during our live streams, and YouTube will notify us of your comments before anybody else's. We've also got a few more tiers though, which are Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz. Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz will let you request us to make a video on any deck we haven't made in the last 6 months. Synchro and Xyz will let you request us to make a video where we build a deck around a certain idea of yours specifically. And finally, the Xyz tier will let you request us to make a video on any topic that you would like that is about dueling. So if any of this sounds good to you, check the join button under this video, and if you do request any video of us, then we've got to do it. We'll also make sure to shout you out in the video that you requested. And thanks for listening, guys. Now let's get back to the video.
If we go second, then we aren't going to be able to stop the opponent from getting their plays off by doing the same combos, since they'll have already had a turn to set up their defenses. But if DDD is super good at setting up boards going first, it's even better at breaking boards going second. We start the same way we normally do, using our Kepler, Gate, and the skill to get us access to the cards we need for our play. But before all that, since only the opponent controls cards, we can use the skill to get Witch from the deck to break the opponent's board a bit before starting the rest of our plays. So yeah, just like Predaplants, Heroes, and Resonators, we got a skill that gives us free board breaking. But unlike those, Witch can get rid of any card, meaning that if we want to get rid of a back row instead of a monster, we can do that. When we go second, we tend to start off our plays by going into High Flame King Genghis. The reason we've been calling this guy Little Genghis, because this one here is clearly the big one. This guy can negate a back row as long as it's your turn, which is why we only go into him going second. Unlike Little Genghis, who can take any 2 DDs as material, Big Genghis needs a DDD.
What's the difference?
The third D is the difference, bro. You're gonna need a big D to fusion summon this guy.
Oh, God damn.
I'm gonna lose him, Charlemagne.
So you're gonna need either Ragnarok or Armageddon with your Swirl Slime to go into this. Once you get it out, it's gonna make it a lot easier for the rest of your combo to get going because your opponent's back row is not gonna be as effective. If they have 1 back row, it's just gonna get negated. If they have 2 back row, they're gonna need to use both of them just for one of them to resolve. If they have 3, no they don't, because you used Witch to get rid of one of them. If you summon Big Genghis, the opponent is likely to just refuse to use their back row. So you can continue to combo as if you were going first, so that you can summon Siegfried. And at that point, you got yet another back row negate. So if they were saving their back row to use 2 on 1 strong play of yours, so that one of them would resolve, now none of them resolve. But back row ain't the only type of defense the opponent's gonna set up. what are we gonna do about their monsters? We got hella removal in this deck and hella ways of special summoning them. The main one is Ragnarok. Once per turn, you contribute one of your DDs to banish an opponent's monster. With our fusions always bringing back stuff from grave whenever a DD is summoned, we're pretty likely to have bonus DDs around for this guy. We got hella level 8s going around in this deck, like Armageddon and the Ragnarok. Ragnarok being a great one to summon, because on summon, can revive a DDD from grave, so it could revive an Armageddon used as fusion material for Big Genghis. After using Ragnarok's removal effect, you could use both of them to overlay into Dingirsu to remove yet another of the opponent's cards.
But wait! There's more!
Before we get our plays going, Witch isn't the only card we can use to break the opponent's board. You can also use Gate to search for either DD Orthros or DD Dog. We don't Pendulum Summon in this deck, so we can just use these as scales for their scale effects. Orthros can destroy another of your DD or contract cards to destroy an opponent's back row, and Dog can negate an opponent's fusion, synchro, or exceeds. With these searchable board breakers, as well as all the removal and negation we can put out, our opponents don't want to go second to us either. There's a few situations where it might actually be better to go for Caesar when going second, because there's a decent amount of decks that try to summon stuff on your turn, like Predaplants with their hand trap, Salamangreat with their quick plays and floating effects, Gemini with Ablation, and Tindangle with Delulu. Stopping these effects not only helps you to push through for game, but lets you benefit from the attack buff Caesar can give itself on another one of your DDs. Finally, we gotta recognize that there are gonna be some monsters out there that, for one reason or another, we ain't gonna be able to take out with some of our card effects. Like, maybe they got too much protection. For this type of beast, we can pull out the one, the only. The solution to every problem, baby. Big Alex with a 6k attack. He's normally 3k, but if you control 3 DDDs, he gets a bonus and can beat over pretty much anything. When you're going second, you're going to be trying to use Formula Synchron alongside one of your level 8s for this, and hopefully you'll have a fusion that can trigger to revive the DDD you use as material so that you can have 3 DDDs on board to make his attack huge. With every strong ass thing this deck can do, there's gotta be some type of downside to make up for it. So our skill says our main deck summons can only be DD.
We do not care.
Okay, so the real downsides: Ragnarok scale effect and the dark contract payments. Ragnarok scale effect that if you summon a DD, you can revive a DD by paying 500 life points. The turn you use this, any damage you would do to your opponent is going to be cut in half. You can still beat over their monsters, like the numbers are going to stay the same in battle. It's just that the opponent isn't going to take the full brunt of the direct damage. So whenever you're going for an OTK, you got to do some math to figure out if you're going to be able to finish the opponent off. This can be really easy to forget because we are so used to the way we normally do battle damage. We might naturally be like, yeah, my 3k monster is going to do 15 when it attacks direct, but we might forget that our 3k is only going to do 5 if it attacks a 2k monster. This is a combo-y ass deck, so you might not have time to do the math, but if you can do the math in your head, it might make a big difference. Because if you're going for lethal, then you don't need to worry so much about setting up interruptions. But if you can't actually get lethal, then it might be more beneficial to do a little board breaking and a little board building at the same time. The other main downside is our contracts. These are all power that we got from a deal with a Crossroads demon. That means we got a lot of power, but we have to pay for it. Every one of our own standby phases, we take 1k damage from each of these. With 4k life, the opponent would only need to deal 1k damage to us for us to die to our own contracts if we got all 3 on board in our combo. You might even summon some of your bosses in defense just to prevent that, but by doing so, you'll also be opening yourself up for them to be easier to beat in battle. So 2 things, you ain't always gonna have all 3 set up, so it's fine most of the time. And we also got a bunch of ways we can prevent this damage. First, we can use our own Siegfried on our own draw or standby phase to negate one of our contracts. That way, its effect to burn us will be negated. Second, we can use Witch to discard a card to destroy one of our contracts, including even itself, to cause our contract's burn effect not to resolve. Third, if Cursed King Siegfried is destroyed, you get to gain 1000 life points for each dark contract you control, essentially paying for all of them by himself.
Because that's what heroes do.
Little Genghis and Caesar also get a floating effect. If destroyed, Genghis adds a contract from grave back to hand. Caesar searches a contract from deck to hand. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro, all these big oppressive boards this deck can set up, hand traps do go a long way to messing those up. Effect Veiler can be used to stop Kepler's search, and for that reason, we gotta play 3 of the gate so that we can have a better chance of opening it. If we already have both, then using Kepler first can bait out the Veiler, and we can still get our search off with gate. Another great target for Veiler is Genghis when it triggers to revive something. If they do that though, you'll probably still be able to set up a decent enough board, just without Caesar most likely. DD Crow has a lot of good targets. Swirl Slime, Necro Slime, Lamia, and Genghis are all good to banish, but banishing Swirl as soon as it hits the grave prevents the most amount of shenanigans. The thing with DDD is, hand traps are gonna make a dent in our plays. We're still gonna play. There's just too much special summoning effects in this deck for us to just completely die to hand traps, but using them at the right time can make our end boards weaker. A lot of people read this skill and see that you can get consistency from revealing a level 1 monster, and their mind immediately goes to,
Oh, so I can reveal Veiler or Crow to get a search. Let me fill my deck with bricks to make me more consistent.
you saw the combos I talked about in this video, man. They take up your whole hand. Your whole hand for real has to be all engine all the time, and your formula draw has to pretty much always be a DD or contract card to be valid discard fodder for the witch. I would say it's okay to play 1 or 2 non-engine cards. There's really no point because this deck's already good enough at going first and second only using engine cards, so it's realistically just a waste of deck space. Since our deck is all combo pieces we want to draw into, it's almost all just 3-ofs. We gotta play 3 Armageddon so we can get consistent access to the Witch with the skill, 3 Swirl Slime, 2 or 3 Lamia, 2 Ragnarok since it's great extension but we can play without it, 2 Necro Slime because the 1 Swamp King is basically like the 3rd copy of it, 3 Kepler, and 3 Gate. For the times we got all we need, but we need something extra. We got the 1 Ghost, 1 Dog, and 1 Orthros, and boom, this is about the easiest main deck you've ever seen in your life. It all flows into each other because it's all just combo, nothing but combo, all day combo. Our extra deck's super simple too because everything in here is everything I talked about in the video. 1 big Genghis, 2 little Genghis, 1 Formula Synchron, 1 Siegfried, 1 Caesar, and 1 Robin. And for breaking balls, we got the 1 Ding and the 1 Big Alex. It doesn't really get simpler than this. This is a really easy deck to build. The only complicated part is actually playing it. Oh my god, dude. After all these years, seeing the most brain-dead rank 8 strategy, having to say, that's not my DDD, we finally got DDDs to actually do what they were born to do. Anyone in the comments talking about,
I wish they could pendulum summon.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had a bunch of rank 8 spammers in the chat. Go play Tachyons, dog. Here, we combo and make real boards. Ones that can actually go first without immediately losing because they can't put up any real defense. For all these years, I have had to say no DD, but finally, thanks to Konami, I can say yes, Diddy.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the Weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.